and welcome to episode 110. We're looking today at how to build a website that suits your product.
And this is episode 110B because we recorded 110A about 15 minutes ago, but I messed it up and didn't press record. So it wasn't recording. So we're having to have a second go at this one.
Yeah.
But that's okay. These things happen. So I guess the lesson out of this is technical stuff happens and you've just got to keep going on it.
Yeah.
I call it technical stuff, but the reality is I just forgot to push record. So
anyway, let's get on to it.
It wasn't technical. So Emily's keen to get moving now because we've wasted too much time.
Yeah.
So anyway, last episode we talked about how to go about buying a website. This episode we want to touch on building a website. So the key element of what we're touching on is you want to choose a platform to build your website which suits your product or your monetization method or your traffic and how you're going to capture that traffic. So the first way is doing a single product. So that's like a landing page, like ClickFunnels. So what you want to do with that is that's when you've just got one product and you just want to market that one product. So that could be my example before I used was a fishing pole, but Emily didn't like that. So we moved on to another product, but I'm just going to use a different product this time, and I'm going to choose a lamp. So if you've got a really cool lamp to sell and you've only got one of them, landing page is the way to go, because what you've got is one long form content and you're basically trying to sell that lamp all the way down through that landing page. And you're going to have call to actions where they can click through and buy the lamp all the way down the page. You don't need a whole website, and this is the point, because you've only got one product and you're just focused on that. So they don't need to know who you are and all about you and all that sort of stuff, because you're not trying to build a real brand connection with your customer long term. You're just trying to get them onto that site, get them to buy, and then potentially later on you'll follow up for secondary purchases, etc. Especially if it's something like maybe not a lamp, but light bulbs for the lamp. They are going to need more and more light bulbs as they go on in their life. So they'll come back and buy more light bulbs. Same with supplements, like if you're selling supplements, you can resell to those existing customers because they're going to use your supplements, then they'll need to buy more. So landing pages are really good for a single product. If you've got multiple products, and we were talking about this before, say like Emily's got her art website that we've set up for her. She's got multiple paintings on there. So we chose an e-commerce site for that option. So we can advertise we can tell a bit about Emily, and we can show a broad selection of her paintings. So it's more of an e-commerce structure. So if you've got multiple products, that's the sort of platform you want to go for. And then the other third one is different monetization. So if you're don't have a product and you're selling things like advertising or something like that, you want to have a content site or a blog. So you're loading up a lot of content, so it's a more structured site, and then you're driving traffic to that because they want to read your blog, and then you might be selling them, I don't know, an ebook, or you might be just relying on advertising on the site. So that's what I'd be doing if you're trying to do that method of products. So as you can see, there's different platforms and different ways of setting up your website depending on what your product or your offering is. So a tip that we've got is, and we've talked a wee bit about this on previous episodes, is using someone else's platform. So if you're starting out, go and like Amazon or Etsy, you can go on their platform, set up your product to sell, and then basically you're using their platform and their traffic. So that's a good, easy way of getting into it. Your website's starting to look good, and you're happy with your products and things.
Yeah, I wouldn't have known where to start. So I'm, this is probably why I married you, really. Get me a free website. No, but
Crikey.
No, seriously though, I wouldn't have known where to start with that.
I'm pretty sure she didn't have that in the vows, the wedding vows. Something about website building? No, sure not.
I just didn't tell you them.
Oh, the silent vows. Anyway,
But I'm an ex-art teacher, no training whatsoever in doing anything online.
Yeah.
So for me to then go to want to set up my own sort of art business and selling art and doing my own art, you were key to that really, in helping me, give me a direction, helping me to set that up, and kind of running it as well. And we started off with a landing page and things, didn't we? And then we've developed it,
pushed it onto an e-commerce site.
and hopefully a shopping cart as well, to actually sell the things through there, rather than them being on there and people have to contact me to buy or whatever.
Yeah. So it's a staged approach, and you can try and do that, and then you see how you go, rather than fully commit to something, like a full e-commerce site. You can start off with a landing page and actually then, if that's going all right, build it out to an e-commerce site and then add shopping carts and all the rest of it.
So how would someone do it if they didn't,
if they didn't
marry you?
If they didn't marry me? Sorry, I'm only available once, and she got it. There's a few ways. So you can either have someone like me come along and do it, or you can there's companies out there that will actually build your website based on your brief. So that's probably one of the options. The other way you can do it is actually to do it yourself if you do want to sort of push the boat out a little bit and learn a wee bit about website building. There's some really good platforms like Weebly or Wix, which what they've done is, rather than you having to go and learn how to code and be a developer, they've done all that in the background, and they've set up these platforms so you can physically go on there and just plonk an image on there, plonk some text on there, move them around the page, and set up your website reasonably easily without all that technical knowledge. So that's something that I'd probably push people towards. If they're confident and they want to learn a little bit, go for something like Wix or Weebly and set up your own website, because it'll save you money if you've got the time. If you're completely not confident, but you still want your own website, then have someone else, like these development companies, build it out for you. We'll put some links in the show notes for this, for these companies, so you can have a look at them. But again, falling back on that, if you completely don't have the money to have someone build it for you, and you don't really want to take the risk of you building it, then that option of eBay and Etsy is a good option, because the platform's already set up, and all you've got to do is load your product and your information in there, set up an account, and they have traffic coming to you. So you don't even need to sort of source the traffic. The downside, which we talk about the upsides, but the downside, obviously, when you sell the product, they're taking a reasonable chunk of the profit, which you're effectively paying for the use of their website and their traffic.
Yeah. But I mean, as an example of something to look at, I mean, you could always put in my website and show notes and see what you've actually, an example of something that you have put together for me.
Where we're at on your website is we've sort of set it up as an e-commerce site. It's going to be, but we haven't done the shopping cart thing yet. So we're kind of in that middle stage where we're not just a landing page, where it's a full website, but it just doesn't have the e-commerce side turned on yet.
Well, I think you've got to remember as well, like, it is a development. You set up, you just get the start of it done like we did. We just literally got a landing page that was kind of there that you could send people to just to get you going. And and that was what, 7 or 8 months ago now.
Yeah.
And, we're just about, it's a slow process. So you've just got to realize that, you're not going to set up a website one day and it's going to be fully working and the next day.
And I think that's important in terms of, like, Emily's passion is her art, not sitting there tweaking her website. So you've got to look at what your passion is. Are you into this because you want to produce a product and sell it, and the online selling thing is your game? Then obviously you want to push that through quick. If the actual, for example, the art is your passion and things, then it can be a slower process. And because you're focused on your art, you want to get some good product to put on there.
Yeah, and I think you've got a really good eye for that. You've got a real, do have a very artistic vision. So, which is why you've been good at helping me do my website.
Yeah, I think that's probably important.
With an art related topic. I think
you do need, and that's probably a good point for, you know, if you're getting someone to build it for you, you need to have a fairly clear vision of what you want it to look like, because a lot of these development companies, they're developers. They don't have a really artistic bent, and what they will put to you is based on a template. And so if you want something quite specific, you need to be very clear with them in the beginning of your branding colors and the look and feel. And I'd go and Google search a whole lot of websites and give them examples of things that you like, because otherwise you start out and they come back with something crazy and you just go, oh, that's way off the mark. And then it takes a long time to bring them back.
Yeah.
And you're paying for that sort of
But
thing.
you see, if you go for somebody that, not necessarily, but, you know, someone who is working for you, you know, as a person rather than a company, like, you are good at suggesting things and, you know, styling it and theming it and things like that.
Well, I think I've got, because of my background's in landscape architecture, so I've got a bit of design background, and I think that's probably quite a good combination with the website stuff as well. It sort of works out quite nicely. So a second tip here would be, if you are building a website yourself, you want to follow a checklist, because there's all these little nitty-gritty things that are important, but you may not know of them or even think of them. So, for example, you know, a website needs to have an SSL certificate, which is a secure sockets layer. So that's, I mean, I know that sounds completely technical, but basically what that is, you know, in the URL, the web address up the top of your search bar, if it's got a locked symbol there, that means that website is secure, and it's secure against hackers and spam and things. So generally people want to visit websites that are secure, so it's important to have one of those certificates. But again, that's a tiny little thing that no one really, unless you're really into developing and stuff, you really wouldn't even know. So we've got a couple of checklists that we put together for building a website. We'll put those in the show notes, so feel free to use those, because that's really good just to check your way through and make sure, even if you're getting someone to build your website, use those checklists to make sure they've done their job properly. Okay, so if you're going to build yourself a website, there's a few things you're going to need. And an example of this is a bit like, kind of like building a house on a property. So, for example, you need, when you're going to build a house, you need an address for a start. So on a website, you need a domain. So that's your web address. Okay, so you also, when you're building a website, you need a hosting provider. So that's in relation to house building. You need some land. You need some land to put your house onto. So on a website, you need a host. So you need somewhere to host that website, so where the website information is actually stored. And then what you'll need is a website platform. So that is the actual house itself. So you need a platform where people can see your website. So that's, you know, Wix or Weebly or Amazon or Etsy are your platforms. Okay. And then if you're selling any product, you know, physical product or anything, you're going to need a payment provider. So that's like PayPal or Stripe. So you sign up with them, you set up your cart on your website, so you check out, and that's got to be linked into a payment provider. And so that's basically where the money gets processed on your website and gets transactioned through to. So, for example, Stripe, you'll have your own Stripe dashboard. It's a standalone website, but that's where your money will end up. So it doesn't actually sit in your website. So that kind of the four very broad main things you'll need. There's a whole lot of other stuff that you'll need as you go along, but certainly if you're getting someone to build your website, they'll deal with that stuff. And if you're using one of these sites like Wix or Weebly, they have good recommendations and say, you need to do this now, you need to do this. So they will deal with a fair bit of that stuff. One of the things I'd say is, if you're not familiar with doing search engine optimization or anything like that, when you're building a website, you can use plugins. And so, like, for example, our website, Emily and Blair, is built on WordPress. We've got a plugin called Rank Math, and it's basically an SEO suggestion plugin. So it scans our content and tells us where we can improve it in terms of keywords, titles, all of that stuff to rank better with Google. So that's something I definitely would suggest. There's heaps of these plugins out there. Use them to, I guess, deal with the things that you don't know. So you don't have to know everything about SEO because the plugin will tell you what to do. Okay. So once you've got your website built, there's a few steps to quickly run through with you. Once you've built it, you need to test it. So test all the links on the website, make sure they're going to the right places. So that's internal links that go within your website and external links that go outside of your website. Check your shopping process. So actually do a physical buy of your product. Go through all those stages, do a checkout, make sure that the payment actually ends up in Stripe or PayPal or whatever your payment provider you've got set up. Check your email and contact page. Make sure all of those things. So test emails, send yourself emails from your contact page. Make sure all of that stuff's working. Connect your website up to Google Analytics because that's going to give you information about your website and your traffic going forward. And also connect your website up to Google Search Console. And then what you want to do is add sitemaps to Google Search Console and that's within Search Console. You go there, you click on sitemaps, and it says add a sitemap, and you can just put in the address. It's quite easy to do. The point of that is Google doesn't know you exist until you put a sitemap in, because what they'll do is what a sitemap is doing is you telling Google that your site exists. And so what they'll then do is send their bots out to scan your site and then start ranking your pages, and then you'll start getting noticed and hopefully get some organic traffic. So that's you putting that big red flag up to the world saying, I've built my website, I now exist, you can come and have a look. But you won't do that unless you can get your website indexed. Once you've launched it, you want to market it on social media, and then you want to begin to improve your site. Okay, so you want to get, it's that old saying, you want to get it done, not perfect. So get your website out there, then make improvements to it.
Yeah, well, that's what we did.
Yeah, exactly. Every week we're improving things.
Yeah.
The best way to improve it is to A/B test it. So if you've got a page that looks like something and then you've got a slight difference to that page, you can set up to A/B test it. So it means that the first viewer that comes on sees version A, the second viewer that comes on sees version B.
Oh.
And that way, and it'll keep doing that. And what it does, it'll show you which one converts better. So this is really good for sales pages. So you might have a buy now button that's red on one page and a buy now button that's blue on your second page. So it alternates between those two pages, and it will then, you run it for 2 or 3 weeks, it will then tell you which one of those button colors converted better.
Oh,
I know it sounds stupid, a button color, like really, does that make a difference? It does. So all those little things.
Yeah, and I think the link to your social media is good, because any changes that you make to your website, to make anyone aware of those changes, to make them go back, because if they've been before you've done the changes, then that's that. But to make people go again, now you've updated and things like that, then you advertise that through Instagram, Facebook, those sorts of things.
Definitely, yeah, especially when you're adding content or doing something new or a new product.
Because that will then make because more people are likely to see those posts and those updates on those sites.
Yeah, because people don't come to your website each week. No. Well, generally they don't, unless there's some hook that you've got on your website. You've sent them to it. So. So the only other way to get to them is either advertising or via social media. Yeah. And so if you're posting on social, they see you've got a new painting, for example, for Emily, bang, you get traffic. So the other one that you can use is use a program like Hotjar or Mouseflow. Now, what these programs do is they actually track where someone's mouse goes over your site. So it'll actually show you where they've been, what they clicked on, how long they looked at a certain part of your site. So if you're doing that A/B testing and you want to know, maybe should I move my call to action, my buy now button further up the page? You know, if this heat map that Hotjar is showing you and they're not getting to your buy now button, move it up the page. So there's heaps of that sort of testing and improvement you can do, particularly if you're selling a product on an e-commerce or a landing page. So again, heaps of steps there. Have a look at our checklist, because that'll help you sort of combine it all. Again, it's probably one of those things you need to be really clear about your product and your monetization, and choose the build option for your website around that, because that'll save you time and money. Basically do the minimum to get started, because once you're started, then you can make the improvements as you go along. Yeah. But yeah, just get started. That's the key thing. Choose what suits you. Get a company to do it for you. Build it yourself. Use one of the other platforms. Bring me, whatever.
He's very good.
Thank you. Well, you did marry me, so you have to say that. Anyway,
you can't
guys.
marry him though. He's taken.
Oh, okay, good.
But
I'm pleased about that.
the other advice is just marry someone who can do it for you.
There's Emily's tip for the day.
That's my tip for the day.
Brilliant. Okay, guys, that's all we've got time for in this episode 110. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up or make a comment, and remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel. But apart from that, we'll see you next week in episode 111 for some more insights into married life. See you guys.
Bye.